chairperson of the Health and Child Care and members of the thematic committee on HIV/AIDS, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me start by giving the response to the petition which you sent to us from the Advocates Core team. And I'll start with the background. Adolescents, according to the World Health Organization, are those people between 10 and 19 years of age. The great majority of adolescents are therefore included in the age-based definition of child as a person under the age of 18 years. Let me take that one again. As a person under the age of 18 years. Age is a convenient way to define adolescence. However, it is not the whole story. It is only one characteristic that delineates this period of development. Adolescents are heterogeneous group with different and evolving needs, depending on their personal development stages and life circumstances. Adolescence is one of the most rapid phases of human development. Biological maturity precedes. Although the order of many of the changes appears to be universal, their timing and the speed of change vary among and even within individuals. Important neuronal developments are also taking place during the adolescence years. These developments are linked to hormonal changes, but are not always dependent on them. Developments are taking place in regions of the brain, such as the limbic system, that are responsible for pleasure seeking and reward processing, emotional responses, and sleep regulation. At the same time, changes are taking place in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for what are called executive functions, decision-making, organization, impulse, control, and planning for the future. Changes in the prefrontal cortex occur later in adolescence than the limbic system changes. Linked to the hormonal and neurodevelopmental changes that are taking place are psychosocial and emotional changes and increasing cognitive and intellectual capacities. Over the course of the second decade, adolescents develop stronger reasoning skills, logical and moral thinking, and become more capable of abstract thinking and making rational judgments. Context of adolescent, sexual, and reproductive health in Zimbabwe. According to the 2012 National Census, 66% of the population is below 25 years. 33% is aged 10 to 24 years. and 24% is aged 10 to 19 years. These young people face a myriad of challenges related to their development. These include unemployment, gender-based violence, child marriages, and other reproductive health challenges like early childbearing, sexually transmitted infections, and HIV. The major drivers of these challenges are poverty that expose particularly girls to early sexual activity. The median age at first sexual intercourse for women age is 18.7 years, while for men it is 20.5 years. Zimbabwe Demographic Health Survey 2015. Almost 4.6% of the population, young women 15 to 24 years, reported having had sex before 15 years of age, compared to 3.8% for men. Multi-Cluster Indicator Survey 2019. Adolescent fertility rate for women aged 15 to 19 years was 120 births per 1,000 women. In that age group, Zimbabwe Demographic Health Survey 2015, but dropped to 108 in 2019 Multi-Cluster Indicator Survey 2019. Adolescent pregnancy varies widely according to wealth, geographic location, and education. It is more than twice higher among girls with primary education compared to those who attended secondary school. 10.3% of urban and 27.2% of rural women aged 15 to 19 years have started childbearing. However, teenage childbearing has declined slightly over the years from 19% in 2011 to 17% in 2015. Correct information of HIV is the first step towards raising awareness and giving adolescents and young people the tools to protect themselves from infection. The last Zimbabwe Demographic Health Survey of 2015 highlighted gaps with only 41.4% of adolescents reported as having comprehensive knowledge. Nationally, only 55% of women and 56% of men had comprehensive knowledge of HIV prevention and transmission. This reflects that comprehensive HIV knowledge gap is across all ages, not just in adolescents. Therefore, from a rights perspective, it is discriminatory to target adolescents only. Key current Ministry of Health and Child Care responses to sexual and reproductive health needs of adolescents. The Adolescent Sexual Reproductive Health Strategy 2016 to 2020 is the main guiding document for responding to adolescent sexual reproductive health challenges faced by adolescents. The strategy provides guidelines on the provision of age-appropriate adolescent sexual reproductive health services. The underlying principle of the strategy is in providing services that are in the best interest of the child given their presenting circumstances. The strategy aims to reduce morbidity and mortality associated with sexual reproductive health activity among adolescents and young people through 1. Increasing safe sexual health and HIV practices. 2. Increasing uptake of quality youth-friendly integrated sexual reproductive health and HIV services. 3. Strengthening the protective environment of adolescents and young people. Some of these strategies include provision of friendly sexual and reproductive health services as an entry point for expanding adolescent health. Establishment and creation of community-based spaces for parent-child communication on sexual and reproductive health. Capacity building of the health workforce, both pre and in service, to provide quality, friendly, and age-appropriate sexual and reproductive health information and services. Life skills, Wunu, Ubuntu, oriented girls and boys empowerment capacity building sessions for both in through the guidance and counseling and learner welfare and out of school adolescents. I'm not sure what we used to call Maungwe if they are still being practiced. Maungwe, we need to reintroduce them.
We don't know what is
Where the young girls and the young boys would be taught slowly on their responsibility, and when, depending on their age, they will be taught various skills. They will start as children, as boys, as adults, and they will start to learn the responsibility. School health information and services for learners, e.g. HPV vaccination for cervical cancer. The education sector has a critical role in preparing and guiding adolescents and youth in their transmission to adulthood and equipping them with knowledge and skills to make informed choices, as most children spend much of their time in school and other educational settings. Now we come to the Constitution, laws and policies regarding sexual and reproductive health services. The general access to health care provision is the Constitution. In the Constitution is Section 76, which provides as follows, and I quote, "Every citizen and permanent resident of Zimbabwe has the right to have access to basic health care services, including reproductive health care services," unquote. Regarding provision of some sexual reproductive health services, some components are age specified. For example, age of consent for HIV testing services is 16 years. National HIV testing services guidelines. Age of consent for medical male circumcision is 18 years. National Medical Male Circumcision Guidelines. For health services for which age of consent is not specified, the Public Health Act of 2018 guides service provision. The Act specifies the need for informed consent given by a person with legal capacity to do so. This infers that anyone less than 18 years cannot consent, and this is in alignment with the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Some of the guiding principles of the Public Health Act are protection of the best interests of vulnerable groups of children, recognition and respect and promotion of indigenous and traditional knowledge, practices, and systems, respect for human rights and adherence to both rights and responsibilities, community participation role in decisions and actions affecting their health. Let's now come to points to note. Education and counseling is part of the services package in our advocacy and service delivery process. As such, the Ministry of Health and Child Care provides age-appropriate information and services, legal, social, cultural, and technical. The co-signed 2018 School Health Policy provides for age-appropriate education and health service provision within the principles of UNU Ubuntu. Harmonization of age of consent for services need to consider ages of consent for other related health issues, such as sex and marriage, which falls under other ministries, hence this needs to be expedited. Adolescents need protection from harm on the one hand and support to make independent decisions and act on them on the other. Hence, a balance needs to be considered. Debate on ages of consent for sexual and reproductive health services need to be holistic to address other health issues, such as nutrition, surgery, whilst accommodating the voice of parents and guardians through consultations and research, in line with the principles of UNU and UNU. Parents and other family members have an important role in delivering sexual and reproductive health and rights interventions, such as preparing girls and boys for puberty and building equitable gender norms. They also have a role to play in helping adolescents to access interventions being provided in the community, such as the human papillomavirus HPV vaccine and voluntary medical male circumcision. Almost all parents want their sons and daughters to grow and develop in good health and contribute to this meaningfully. However, in many places, they feel unprepared and unable to address the sensitive matters around puberty, sexuality, and reproduction. For parents to do this and to do this effectively, they need to be engaged. convinced of its value and support it. An important starting point is their knowledge and misconceptions, hopes, and fears. Active involvement of a concerned and capable parent is the best possible situation for sexually active adolescents. Parents are in the best place to know the emotional needs of their adolescents. They are usually the best bet for consistent love and care, and are presumed to be competent decision makers. Parents also have legal and financial duties to care for children, including adolescents. In light of those duties, we should honor parents' rights to direct the moral and spiritual upbringing of children. For an example, is if a 13-year-old goes to a clinic for HIV testing and turns positive and is commenced on antiretroviral treatment without his or her legal guardian knowing, who will give the child the lifelong support to take the medicines? That's the question we need to answer ourselves. Who will ensure the child gets to hospital for review? Who will provide bus fare to continue seeking medical care? Ideally, individuals with the capacity to consent should be allowed to do so, no matter what their age. Assessment of capacity, however, is rarely straightforward for adolescents. Capacity to consent requires the abilities to communicate a choice, to understand the options, to reason effectively about those options, and to make an uncoerced decision. The level of capacity required varies with the risk of the choice to be made. The capacities to understand options and to reason effectively are tricky notions and often difficult to test. Life experience and cognitive capacity have significant impact on both. At every stage of adolescence, there is remarkable variability in cognitive development and experience, and correspondingly variability in capacity to consent. Adolescent care requires ongoing assessment of the developing level of autonomy and its practical application capacity for consent. We presume incapacity always ready to be wrong. The default is to rely on parents to help fill in the gaps of adolescent capacity to children as the child's capacity grows. Healthcare providers can support parents and adolescents in this shift in control, encouraging teens to take active role in medical communication and decision making, and helping parents learn to yield authority. This is the ideal for management of adolescents' medical care. Slow and careful development of capacity guided by a supportive parent and an assessing clinician. Asking adolescents to make independent choices about such high-risk issues as sexual behavior and reproductive health is no one's idea of an optimum safety net. The critical point for the nation is to understand if we want to publicly advocate for teenage pregnancy or the best interest of the child and upholding the other principles of non-discrimination and child survival and development. Instead, key issues to be addressed are the underlying causes of early sexual activity like poverty, school dropout, orphanhood. The finality of it all is that all laws, strategies, guidelines, and policies in health should define a child in accordance to the Constitution of Zimbabwe and regional and international treaties ratified by the state. At the end of the day, laws do not operate in a vacuum. They are operated within a society. Adolescent sexual and reproductive health and rights issues are not only a health issue. The whole populace should be afforded a say in this matter. Realignment issues. The Constitution. This is the supreme law that already guarantees freedoms and rights in section 44 to 87. The Declaration of Rights enshrines the right to life for every Zimbabwean, including children under section 44. Section 67 grants access to information for all Zimbabweans. Hence, there is no need to separate sexual and reproductive health and rights services for inclusion in the Constitution. Sexual and reproductive health and rights are already enshrined in the Constitution under section 76. Right to health care has right to have access to basic health care and reproductive health care services. So what more do we want enshrined? Is this a political agenda or what? If we fail to read our own Constitution and petition things already enshrined, there is no need to enshrine things already enshrined in the Constitution. We proceed to National Youth, Adolescents, and Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Strategy 2016 to 2020. The strategy cannot include legal termination of pregnancy, as this is dealt with under the Termination of Pregnancy Act in the country. The state coincides that since the strategy is coming to an end, there is need for exhaustive consultations in drafting and development of the replacement strategy. The strategy needs to be aligned to the Constitution and define children as any child below 18 years. Antenatal care. This is provided for under the National Health Strategy, which does not deny young children who are pregnant antenatal care. Our maternal care pregnancies provide adequate cover for antenatal care in the country. Termination of Pregnancy Act. The provisions clearly allow for the abortion in circumstances like if the pregnant woman's life is endangered, and in cases of rape, incest, or fatal impairment. All survivors of sexual gender-based violence and child sexual violence have access to emergency contraceptives, family planning, HIV testing, and emergency post-exposure prophylaxis as per sexual and gender-based violence guidelines and protocols. This does not discriminate based on age, hence they are comprehensive enough. As a Christian nation, let us not forego our Christian values, that children are a gift from God and are an inheritance. Hence, abortion, for the fun of it, will tear the core fabric and fiber of our morality and values. Are we not westernizing our society and destroying our values? Food for thought. Let me come to the Ministry of Education Circular, page 37. The ministry already allows second chance opportunities for girl child who falls pregnant and can be allowed back into school. The ripple effect of this and levels of discrimination need to be addressed through age-appropriate information dissemination to increase levels of knowledge and capacity for both youth bearers and rights holders. Let's now go to the implications. Political. Society and Christians will attack the current government as the liberties will destroy traditional and Christian values and ethics. There is a need to manage and balance the 85% Zimbabwean Christian community and the human rights approach. What is it that we want? Do we want to go for the human rights approach, or we want to go for our values? And if we are Christians, what choice are we making? Economic. Reallocation of resources from development projects to non-essential provision. Social. Increase poverty levels and trap the girl child in childbearing mode and create a vicious circle of poverty. Reinforces child marriages if age restriction of accessing reproductive health care services is removed. The interpretation is that a person who can decide use contraceptives also has the power as to when they indulge in sexual activity, and also as when they want to have a baby. This will be a time bomb for immorality against the diverse cultural and religious communities in Zimbabwe. A high potential of increased burden on government's social security nets, where high numbers of children will be having children out of wedlock, as child marriage is abolished. And lastly, diverts attention from access to opportunities to service provisions. I thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, Siyabonga, Chairperson.